all my beautiful sisters from those other misters. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a just doing my makeup and Q&A. So I wanted to recreate the eye look that I was wearing in my Priceline 52 mini review video. I kind of just did that look on the fly because I was playing with makeup and I actually really liked the way it turned out, and I had a lot of people you know, showing interest in the look, and a few people asked me to recreate it, and I personally wanted to recreate it as well, so I thought I'll do it on camera. The issue is it's really simple. It's literally, okay, it's 2 palettes, so that makes it a bit annoying, but it's 4 eyeshadows. And they come from the Coloured Raine Queen of Hearts palette and the mini Masquerade palette from Juvia's Place, which I'm sure many people own both. So I reached out on my community tab and I asked people if they had any questions they wanted to answer. If they had questions they wanted to answer, if they had questions they wanted me to answer, yeah, there's questions. There's actually a lot of questions. So what I did is I went through them and I kind of grouped them. So that's how I'm going to answer them, to get through them quickly, because this look shouldn't take too long, and I don't really want it to be just me sitting here rambling. But if you are looking at the timestamp and it's an hour long, because that's how long it took me to answer the questions, I actually recommend watching this video on 1.5 speed or 2 times speed if you are really good at taking in the audio information. I'm going to start with my eyes first because this could get a bit messy, but I'm going to prime first. Look, I wouldn't even bother, but I'm trying to use this up. It's the Mecca Cosmetica Lit From Within Primer. Let's do a little bit of this one. Yes, look at me, I'm a cool Instagram person. Okay, so I had heaps of people asking me about work. What's my job? What's my job outside YouTube? What was my job before YouTube? What are jobs that I've had? Jobs, work, and jobs. So before I started YouTube, I was technically doing 2 things. I was helping Mum with her business. She worked in the secondhand dealing industry, so selling antiques and vintage items. What is that on my neck? What is that? So I was helping her with that job because, you know, my mum, she's technically disabled. She can't work anymore, so I was sort of helping her with that job until it sort of became too much for her. I was also a freelance makeup artist, and I'd been doing that for a few years, just, you know, word of mouth stuff. I never really advertised. I did like a lot of friends jobs and friends of friends. That was like the big one. Before that, like, I've done reception work, I've worked in retail, worked in a fish and chip shop. That taught me that the scent of a deep fryer, like, that permeates everything, and you can't get it out. It fucking stinks. I also attempted I started a hairdressing apprenticeship, and I learnt very quickly I don't like hair enough to do that job, so that was one that I did not stick with. But yeah, no really interesting jobs. I do not have a job outside of YouTube. Beauty news is what I would consider my full-time job. This channel is my hobby, and I'm a carer for my mum. So I'm busy. If I'm not doing something for mum, or, like, you know, keeping the house clean so when she is walking around she doesn't trip over something, or like cooking meals or doing the washing or taking her to appointments or whatever needs to be done. If I'm not doing that, I'm working on beauty news, or I'm working on this, or I'm trying to have like downtime. Some people asked if I still freelance with makeup. I do not. There was another question if there was ever a moment that I wanted to quit makeup, and I guess technically I did, in a sense. Hang on, before I go on, I'm going to prime my eyes with the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. So I discovered that I didn't really like freelancing. Maybe I just got over it. I don't know. Yeah, I think getting over it is a good way to put it. Freelancing makeup, like I was doing, you know, weddings and stuff, and they're kind of hard because a lot of people like to have their weddings on weekends, and that involves having a very, you know, early start on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and by the time I get home in the afternoon, I'm usually like totally wiped out, getting up at like 3 o'clock for a 5 a.m. start or 4 o'clock for a 6 a.m. start. It's a lot and it kind of takes it out of you, and I just felt like I was missing out on so much in life, and it was mostly like, you know, being with friends and having a social life. It's very hard when all of your friends work 9 to 5 standard jobs Monday to Friday, and you know they're asking you to come out on the weekends, and you're either like, I can't because I have a job in the morning, or I can't because I can barely keep my eyes open after working this morning. So it was kind of hard, and I think I just sort of lost the passion for doing that work. Weddings were like the majority of the work that I did, and I found it was always the same thing. Trials with brides are always fun, or mostly always fun. They would, you know, I would book a trial with them, and I would say, you know, let's try and do it on a hen's night or something like that, so you can wear the makeup and see how it wears, and make sure you bring some pictures so we can, you know, have a reference for what you're looking for. And often the brides would want like a smoky eye or something really like crazy and exciting, and you know, I would do the smoky eye and stuff, but I would always be like, look, this isn't typically what goes down well at a wedding for a bride, but we'll do it, we'll see how you like it, and if you don't like it, we can always do another trial, and we can just do like a nice beautiful natural wedding style makeup. And I found that trials were always fun because we'd do a bit of like crazy stuff. The brides wanted to try something fun, but then I'd get like a text or a call or an email, and they'd be like, look, I really loved it and it was fun, but I think you're right. I think it'd be better if I go with something a bit more natural. So when it come to the day, it was always the same type of makeup. So it gets a little bit repetitive over time. And I think that's the same with any job. The repetition and not being able to sort of expand out of that can really like drag you down. I'm just going to set between my crease and my brow bone with the e.l.f. sheer powder. So yeah, I just decided that I wasn't really loving freelancing anymore, and I don't know, I think the universe knew and just slowly sort of took me out of that and into other things. So it was I don't know, a fairly slow transition, and even now occasionally, very occasionally, I will do a job, but it's only for family, and usually it's without pay. So do we consider that freelancing? No, because you're not making a living off it or earning anything off it. Basically, it doesn't even cover the cost of materials. It's sort of like a passion thing that you do for someone that you love or care about. Like if a friend came to me, like a close friend, and said do my makeup for my wedding, I would do it, absolutely. And the last time I did it was actually for my cousin couple of years ago. So that was nice, and that was a bit of a family affair. Like one of her other cousins, so different side of the family, was doing the hair, and I did the makeup for the bridal party. So that was really lovely. But I think even if I stopped doing YouTube, I don't think I would go back to freelancing, to be honest. I look back on that part of my life and I'm like, it was great experience, but there's no passion there, basically. There was also, I think, I see one question here about freelancing horror stories, and I think there was another one, but anyway, I don't really have a lot of horror stories. I think a misconception in my personal experience is that brides can be a bit of a bridezilla. I actually like never experienced that. Mostly my like bridezilla experiences were actually like bridesmaidzilla experiences, where they're sort of like they're being a backseat driver while you're trying to do your job. So that was probably like the biggest thing I experienced. There was one particular event that I don't even like to think about it. It gives me anxiety. I was doing the makeup for my friend Pixie's wedding, and she was dressed, and we were just about to leave for the venue, and I was putting her lip on, and the lipstick bullet fell out of my hand and tumbled down her dress. And by the good grace of God, somehow, I don't know, it was a miracle, no lipstick got on her dress. And that, it makes me feel sick just thinking about it. And we're not talking about a fucking nude lip here, like it's bright lipstick. So that was really scary for me. And I think what made it almost ironic as well, oh my god, it's giving me the shakes. That is like my worst nightmare. You don't want to fuck up a bride's dress with makeup. That is like sin number one. But what's ironic about that is when I was training, I was asking, or the whole class was asking about like bridal horror stories when we were learning bridal makeup, and one of the trainers said I was doing makeup for a bride and she dropped the lipstick and it tumbled down her dress, and she was lucky because she didn't get any lipstick on her dress. And when I heard that story, I was like, holy moly, that is so lucky, and that would be so bad. And then it happened to me, and I remember like when it was happening, it was like, oh god, it was like watching it in slow motion and just like wanting to vomit with fear. And when like I'm inspecting her dress, and in my head I'm like, this isn't happening to me. Like, this is, how do I hear this exact story and now I'm living it years later? I felt that like the universe was taking the piss out of me on that day. Yeah, that I'll never forget that. That was just the weirdest experience. I actually had the cold sweats after telling that story. That experience was probably one of the scariest non-life-threatening situations I've ever been in. I'm going to dig into the Coloured Raine Queen of Hearts palette. I'm going to start with Princess. I'm going to take that all through the crease. Okay, I had some questions about YouTube. So Taylor asked the best and worst parts about being a beauty guru / beauty news on YouTube. I don't consider myself a beauty guru. Like, my channel, I don't even know why people watch my channel, to be honest. My channel is just a hobby, and it's just to talk about, you know, the stuff that I love and enjoy. And my channel I consider like it's a bit of a safe haven away from what a larger channel can have to offer in terms of like the negative side. So my channel is just like, you know, it's a happy place. It's a little just a hobby happy place. As for like beauty news, I think like the best things is having a job that like you are your own boss. You don't answer to anyone. You get to be creative, and we get to basically, you know, do what we want. It's really nice. The negatives is probably like the, sorry, I'm just checking the mirror to make sure I've got good balance here. The negatives is probably, you know, the obvious stuff, dickhead comments and stuff like that. But you can't escape it on YouTube. Like, it is what it is. It's the internet. I think that's the only way that I can sort of describe it. It's the internet. And the internet is full of people with anonymity. They can come on the internet and say whatever they want. They can take out their, you know, if they've had a bad day, they can take it out on you. They can do whatever they want. And there's absolutely no accountability. So I think that's probably the only shitty thing. You know, I would kind of like to see people be held accountable for the dumb shit that they say on YouTube and other social media platforms. You know, as a content creator, when we say something in a video, if it offends people, we are held accountable for that. The public will, you know, call us out on it. But there's not really any accountability for people who watch you and just want to be shitheads, basically. But I don't think there's really a way to hold people accountable for that. So I don't know. I doubt it will ever change. But the thing with YouTube, like I look at it as just a job now, and I don't think it's an interesting job. I don't think it's like super exciting. To me, it's like any other job that I've had, except I am much more responsible for the work getting done, because it's like, it's my business and Kat's business, you know, like, not, like, it's our small business. So if we want things to be done, we have to do them ourselves. But I don't know. I just look at it as a normal job. All right, I'm going to dig into Empress. Oh, let's blind you. I'm going to dig into Empress, and I'm going to put that in the outer corner, inner corner, and in the crease, but I'm not going to take it up as high as I did with Princess. Naomi asked, how do you protect yourself from public criticism on YouTube and social media? So I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with what I was just talking about. Look, I don't think there's really any way you can protect yourself from it, unless you are talking about like not looking at it, like doing one of these ones, not looking at comments and stuff. But you can't really, like, if you don't look at comments, you don't see the negative, but you also don't see the positive. So other people are also sort of missing out on sharing the love. So I think if I'm not in the mood to read like bullshit from dickheads, I just don't read comments on that day. And if I'm in, you know, a good mood and I know I can cope with it, then I dig into the comments. Sometimes I will bite back. Most of the time I try not to respond to criticism and stuff, if I feel like it's not constructive, like they're just being a dickhead for the sake of being a dickhead. But yeah, otherwise I feel like there's not really anything you can do. In sort of mid-primary school and high school, I was also bullied pretty badly. So I developed a thick skin really young. So a lot of it is like water off a duck's back for me. I don't really give a fuck what people think about me, to be honest. And I suppose that's also something that I learned young, stemming from, you know, middle of primary school and high school. So I try not to let that stuff get to me when I read it, and if I know I'm not in a good mindset to deal with it, I just don't read comments. You learn coping mechanisms over the years, but I don't know, shit comments, they still, you know, it still hurts your feelings, but you have to accept there's always going to be someone who is going to leave a shit comment at some stage, and often they're actually doing it to get a rise out of you, and if you give them the satisfaction, they're going to keep doing it. I had a few people ask if I'm going to start vlogging again. Maybe, I don't know. I stopped because I needed a break, and I've thought about it, like since stopping, I've thought about taking it up again a few times. But look, I'm the type of person, I do what my heart wants. I'm a little bit of, I don't know, I go with the flow. I go with the flow, and when it feels right, I do it, and if it doesn't, I don't. I have a question from Glass. Hello, lovely. How are you? Why did you take a few months hiatus from Instagram? Glad to see you posting again. Okay, so confession time. I really dislike social media. I hate it, but my job requires that I have it. So it is what it is. Instagram, I was just like, oh, I can't be fucked. There's so much bullshit on Instagram. So much fucking bullshit on Instagram. So I was talking to Kat, because I've been thinking for a while, I'm like, I want to pick up Instagram again, but it fucking annoys me. And I was talking to Kat about it. She's like, just do what you want, post what you want, have fun. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give that a go. So I'm giving that a go at the moment. I went through, kind of cleaned up my like follow list, and I was like, nope, you're a dickhead, you're a dickhead, you're a dickhead. And now I'm trying to, like, you know, go ahead with the posting again. The same goes for Facebook. Before I continue talking, I'm taking this shade from the mini masquerade. It's called Ada, and it's going sort of where the orange shade has gone, except not as blown out. So anyway, I didn't really use Facebook all that much. I didn't love it. I had a purpose for it, but that was pretty much it. And then when we started Beauty News, we eventually started the Beauty News Facebook groups, and in the years since starting that, I've wanted to delete Facebook like countless times. I couldn't even tell you how many times, and not even caring about like following my family. If I want to see pictures of my cousin's trip overseas, I know I can message her and she will send me some fucking pictures. So I don't even have like Facebook for that reason. I only have it because of the Facebook groups that I help to run. So yeah, social media, not my thing. I don't think it enriches my life at all. I don't think I need it. I would actually even say that I'm happier without it, but I kind of feel like I'm stuck with it. If I ever stop doing Beauty News, I will delete Facebook 100%. I have no interest in it. I am really enjoying like playing a little bit on Instagram at the moment with my I don't give a fuck attitude towards it. So I'm happy to like keep that and keep playing with it. And if I ever get sick of it again, I will just stop using it. So yeah, I might always be a little bit on and off with Instagram, but yeah, I try to do what makes me happy, because life's short. There were a couple of other questions that were sort of general YouTube questions. Mackenzie asked, do you find doing your job any harder because you live in Australia and not in other countries such as America? Look, I wouldn't actually know, because I've never been in America. Oh, I've never been in America. I've never been to America. I've never worked there. So this is all I know. Look, I don't particularly find it harder. I don't know. This is just what I know. I had a bunch of questions about things like hobbies, goals, family, stuff like that. So a little bit of background, family related. I have a brother and a sister. I have lots of nephews and nieces. I don't have any children myself. I'm not married. What else? What else is like family related? Someone asked me, tell me more about your child or something like that. His name is Odin and he has a fluffy tail. There we go. We'll get more into pets a bit later. Hobbies. People want to know about my hobbies. Sorry guys, I'm very, very boring. I actually don't really have any hobbies. That sounds so bad. I don't have any hobbies. I suppose the closest thing to a hobby that I would have is watching TV. Watching trash TV. At the moment, I am currently hardcore, like nutcase weirdo obsessed with 90 Day Fiancé. I just recently discovered it, and it does play on Foxtel in Australia, which I have, but I can't watch it on demand, which means I have to actually like watch it on television, which I don't do ever. I watch things when I'm ready to watch them. So I have to actually record it on Foxtel. There's no other like subscription services that I'm aware of in Australia that have it. So I'm kind of stuck with being this schleb who records stuff on Foxtel to watch it every now and then. I can't even tell you how sad that makes me, because that's just not how I live my life. So yeah, TV is pretty much my only hobby. That sounds really sad, but it's kind of true. I don't really like do much. I just work, look after mum, try and clean the damn house, cook meals, and when I have free time, I watch TV. That is literally all that I want to do with my life. I'm going to dig into this shade, which is Mecca. Nice purple. I'm just going to pop it over the center of my lid. I have been thinking, and I'm actually going to do this. I'm like ready to go. I've been thinking for a while now. I wanted to take ballet lessons. So I'm going to go join like an adult beginner ballet class, and I'm also going to take up piano lessons again. I did play piano when I was little, but I gave it up, so I'm gonna do that, because I think actually having a hobby would be good. Something that was a hobby for me, and this is something that I'd also like to pick up again, but I'm concerned about the amount of time that it would take, or the amount of time that I would want to dedicate to it. I used to play World of Warcraft. I used to play a lot of video games. I love video games. But I'm one of those people, like, I totally fucking immerse myself in the game. So I don't really have the time for that anymore. But I was thinking about playing World of Warcraft again. I used to be like, I used to play a lot. And I'm thinking, if I pick it up, I'll just do, you know, like questing and stuff like that, rather than raiding and joining a guild and all that shit again, because yeah, I don't have the time to dedicate to it that I would like to dedicate to it. Danny Tells All asked if I like reading, and if so, what books do you enjoy most? What's your favorite book? Okay, so I do like reading, but again, this is something that when I read, I kind of like, I'm one of those people, I'll open a book and I will read all day, and I'm not really the type to just read 1 or 2 chapters and then put the book down and go about doing something else. I kind of immerse myself in the book. So I haven't read properly in a long time. What did I do to that fucking eyeshadow? The last books that I read, like properly back to front, were, or front to back, the Game of Thrones books. And I actually got a couple more for Christmas from my mum that I'd like to read, but I haven't gotten around to it. I love Stephen King books, like, love Stephen King. If I had to choose a favorite author, it would be Stephen King. I've read everything from him except his more modern books, and by modern I probably mean like the last, to be fair, probably 10 years. But I've read like his Bachman books and, you know, the stuff he did under a pen name, all that stuff. Love his writing. Love his writing. Okay, I'm just gonna like blend the purple in with the red a little bit, give it a little bit of a, you know, little bit of a transition, little blendy blend. I had a lot of people asking about like goals and dreams and hopes and plans for the future. Hate to break it to you, and I know if you are a planner, this is probably gonna annoy the shit out of you, but I don't really do that. I don't like set myself these big fancy goals. I think if like in a, you know, a perfect world, there are some things that I would like. I'd like to have a family one day. I'd like to own a bit of property. I want to go back to Europe. I want to go on a cruise around the Greek islands. Stuff like that. There was someone who asked about like adrenaline-filled shenanigans. There's 2 things I really want to do, and there's one thing that I think I would like to do, but actually there's 2 things that I really want to do, and 2 things that I want to do but probably can't do. No, one I can't do, one I could do, but look, I'm just going to tell you and explain. I want to go diving with sharks. That has been something I've wanted to do for such a long time, but I don't think I would physically, I think I could physically do it, but it might be a bit detrimental to me. A couple of years ago, I ended up with a collapsed lung, and the doctor was like, you know, trying to work out what happened, what caused this, and we came to the conclusion that nothing caused it, and it's actually a condition where your lung can just collapse for no reason, or no good reason, I suppose. And basically the doctor was like, look, you're probably like, you know, this shouldn't affect your life too badly. This might happen again in the future, which means you have to deal with the discomfort of it happening. But the only things that you should really avoid doing is like deep sea diving. And as soon as he said that, I was like, you're fucking kidding. I want to go swimming with the sharks. And he's like, look, you can, but it could be bad for you. He didn't say life-threatening or anything, so, you know, for me it's not struck off the cards. But he said, you know, it's not smart. Also, he said flying could cause it. And I was like, look, I fly fairly regularly, like at least a few times a year. And he's like, flying's not as bad, but if you end up with symptoms shortly after flying, you know what caused it. So that's a thing. I also want to go swimming with dolphins. I would be able to do that because that's not like a going deep under the water kind of thing. And I would like to go up in a hot air balloon, but I'm kind of afraid of heights. Not really bad, but my body tends to do this thing where when I'm like up high and I can sort of see around me, I want to like crouch down. I want to crouch down on the solid surface and like not look. So that would be a little bit ridiculous to be up in the sky in a basket and be like, no, I need to crouch on the ground and not look at the surroundings. So yeah, that's something I would like to do, but I don't know if I would do it. I probably would. If someone, like if a friend contacted me and they were like, Hayley, we booked a hot air balloon ride, you're coming with us, I would say yes. I probably wouldn't let it stop me. Okay, I've got questions about like makeup and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go through a few of them. Diane asked, how did the Botox go? Good. Very good. I love it. I've been having it for a long time. Just going to clean up some of this fallout. Yeah, I've been having it for quite a while. I like it, and if I can afford it, I will maintain it. Victoria asks, what's your favorite thing about makeup? How it looks, makes you feel? Not really. For me, it's actually more, it's less about like how it makes me feel, and it's more about like the artistic side of like playing with color and stuff like that. I find it quite cathartic to sit down and play with makeup. It's sort of like, actually I would liken it to watching television. For me, it's like my relaxation happy place. Like I would prefer to sit down with a glass of wine and makeup and, you know, do something weird and fun rather than go and see a movie, basically. Yeah, to me, makeup is like, it's relaxing, it's fun. Get to do artistic stuff, be a bit crazy if you want to, or create something pretty. And yeah, for me, makeup is like a, I don't know, sort of like a relaxation outlet. All right, I'm gonna color correct this. I'm gonna use the Master Camo by Maybelline. Then I'm gonna put on a base. I'm gonna use the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. It's almost empty, yay. Okay, so Laura says, what's your biggest pet peeve when it comes to makeup on you and or on others? What makeup brands are you dying to try but aren't available in Australia nor via shipping? I don't think there's really any brands that I'm like, you know, chomping at the bit to try. I think most things are available here, or we can somehow have them shipped here, whether it is via the company's website or via a shipping forwarding service. If I'm that desperate to try it, I probably can get it in like some way. As for pet peeves when it comes to makeup on you and or on others, on me, I know my pet peeve is adjusting to my own slowly aging skin. I do have experience applying makeup to mature skin. I know like the techniques that you should use to get everything looking good, but I think when you are dealing with that on yourself, it's a whole different ball game, because you like, it's not just about, you know, using techniques, but it's also about accepting the fact that you have to now use those techniques on yourself. So that's probably a pet peeve about my own makeup. But pet peeves on others, I don't really like stupid Instagram trends like squiggly eyebrows, or like hairy nails and weird stuff like that. Like, you know, they're annoying, but easy to avoid, because that's usually crap that you see on social media, so you can scroll past that crap. But I don't think there's really anything that I often see on people just in general that like really grinds my gears. I remember having a friend once who I used to see quite often, and one day she came out, I don't remember how the conversation started, but she came out with this thing where she was like, I'm always paranoid that you're judging my makeup when I see you. And I was a bit taken aback. I was like, really? Oh, okay. Like, I didn't see her makeup. Like, I saw my friend. You know, and her makeup there was never anything wrong with it. Like, she knew how to enhance her own features. She was doing good. She was doing really good. So that sort of took me aback. And it actually made me a little bit more aware of like how my job can make other people feel a little bit insecure, which is not nice, because that's not, you know, that's not my intention. I don't want people to be fucking worried about their makeup when they're seeing me. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't care what your makeup looks like. Half the time I don't even care what my makeup looks like. So yeah, I thought, you know, that was interesting, but I don't really look at people's makeup when I meet them, or like, I don't look at my friends' makeup and, you know, analyze it. I just see my friends. Okay, I did have some questions about breakouts. So Care, or is it a play on Care Bear? I'm not sure. They asked, when you're having breakouts, what type of makeup products do you use and or avoid? And there was another one. Anna said, as a fellow female prone to deep, painful and large acne, she relates to my struggles. What are your tips for like to spot treat, to make them go away quicker? And she also mentions there's times when the spot is almost wet and nothing sticks to it. How do you cover these? Okay, so let's go. Let's start at the start. When I'm having breakouts, I get, like you would have seen there, I get breakouts like this. They typically come up in a cluster and they're cystic. So they don't, like, I've had those spots, and these spots are healing, and they've been actually healing for at least a week now, some even longer. And I've had them for over a month. So like, when I get spots these days, they're here for the long haul, basically. Never used to be the case. I was always very lucky to have quite clear skin, and when I did get a spot, it would go away fairly quickly on its own, or I could help it along and it would go away even quicker, sometimes overnight. So adjusting to like actual acne flare-ups is very difficult. When I have a flare-up, if I suspect that potentially a product has caused it, I stop using that product and I go back to basics. So I go back to using only products that I'm already familiar with. They're products that I know have never caused me issues, and they don't, you know, aggravate an issue that's popped up. So that's usually the first thing that I do. I can't like give solid product recommendations because everyone's different. You know, I know Pro Glow doesn't break me out, and I know it doesn't aggravate my breakouts, but that might not be the case for you. So basically what I do is I just go to products that I know my skin copes well with. Then I go into like a sort of treatment routine where I incorporate mostly salicylic acid. Like that's my go-to. I really like the Paula's Choice like BHA toners. My skin responds really well to them. I will also sometimes use a stronger topical BHA product. So if I've got, like in this area, so I've got a cluster, I will use a BHA all over to help clear out any pores that might want to start vibing with their neighbor friends, and then I will use something stronger just on those spots to help clear them out. And then I take a super large dose of patience, because that is pretty much the key to getting shit to like calm down on my face. It just takes time, and like I said, at the moment I'm a month in, or a little bit over a month in with these spots, and it started just one spot and then other spots sort of popped up around my face. But I think if you have spots that just will not go away, go and speak to a professional about it, because there could be another underlying cause that could be causing it, and someone who's a professional might be able to offer assistance or advice. Elf sheer powder. As for spots that seem wet, okay, so if you have a weepy spot, nothing's gonna stick to it. And look, there's a few things you can do, but if you're in a pinch and it's like you've got a weepy spot and you got to put makeup on to get ready for work or go out or something like that, look, it's pretty hard. Okay, so my advice, if you get a spot in the evening and you wash your face and it erupts on its own, or if you pop it yourself, I'm not here to judge you, girl, I feel you. Like, I do that shit too sometimes. I try not to, but I do it. What you want to do is take something like the Mario Badescu drying lotion and pop it on the spot. Pop it on the spot, it'll help dry it out overnight, and hopefully in the morning it'll be in a position where you can apply makeup over it and cover it a bit. If we're talking about in the morning, you've popped a spot, or a spot has popped on its own and it is weepy, it's hard. Can you hear my big girl? Did you hear the meowing? That's my big girl. She wants to come inside. Mum will let her in. Yeah, I think so. If it's a morning situation where you're in a rush, I actually do not have any suggestions. I don't. A weepy spot is a weepy spot. Something I try every now and then, sometimes it works, sometimes it does not, is I will take a cotton square, hang on. So I'll take something like this, I'll put a BHA toner on there, or like a salicylic acid product on there, and I'll hold it on the spot. And I'll hold it on the spot for sometimes, if I've only got 2 minutes, 2 minutes. If I've got 10 minutes, 10 minutes. If I've got 20 minutes, I will put it on there for 20 minutes. Nobody wants to be holding something to their face for 20 minutes, so buy some Leuko tape or something like that and just like stick it in place. The acid can help to sort of clean out the spot. Yeah, it might sting, often it does, but it can also help to dry out the spot, so you can give that a go. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. It's definitely not a foolproof method for me. If you do have time in the morning, like say an hour before you have to be putting on your makeup to get ready for work, or in the afternoon before you're going out, again, I would go the Mario Badescu drying lotion. I would leave it on for as long as you possibly can, and then I would take it off and do the makeup. There is another situation that I've personally run into where makeup isn't sticking to a spot, and that's actually when the skin is thin, so it's stretched thinner, and you might have had some like exfoliation of the top layers, so there's no texture on that particular part of skin for anything to stick to. In that case, you want to use a sticky primer, or you might tap over the spot with like a spot cream or a moisturizer or even a concealer or foundation, and then take a tiny bit of powder and dust it over the spot. Let it set and then go in with your makeup. You're gonna have to like play around with that method, because getting it to work well is gonna come down to the combination of products. Some powders don't like having something wet put over the top of them. They might lift or chunk up or just start to look really gross. So you do have to be aware of that. It's just trial and error. But spots are difficult. They're annoying. They're really annoying. Even when you do manage to cover them well, they're still fairly obvious, because you've often got raised skin or flaking skin or straight up open wounds or scabs. It's not nice. It's really hard. However, I will say I'm kind of glad that my skin issues didn't start until I did get older, because I've got more experience with skincare and makeup at this time, so I feel like I'm better equipped to deal with it. Okay, I had heaps of people asking like, what do you think is like overhyped products? What are your favorite drugstore this and stuff? Okay, so look, I think if I'm gonna choose an overhyped product, it's gonna be like Pat McGrath and Natasha Denona palettes. I don't know. I feel like I got the raw end of the stick with this, because I feel like all of the ones I've ever got they've not lived up to the hype in my eyes. So that would be, you know, an overhyped overhyped brands or products for me. I'm just gonna spray my face with the COSRX. Actually no, I'm gonna bronze first. As for like favorite drugstore products, so foundations, L'Oreal Pro Glow is an absolute fave. What else do I love? I love the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. I love the Fresh and Flawless powder from Australis. I love the Maybelline Fit Me matte foundation. What else is there? I'm sure there's like a million other things. Oh, the razor sharp wing liner from Maybelline, the pen liner, love that. God, I haven't been in a drugstore for so long. What do I love? Somebody remind me. Oh, I love the CoverGirl 3-in-1 foundation. I haven't worn that in so long. I've got a bottle in my back in here. I should dig into that. I did have a few comments about eyeshadows, favorite palette, favorite formula, etc, etc. Also favorite reds and stuff like that. I hate to break it to you, I do not have a large red eyeshadow collection, and I am actively keeping it that way because I don't want to turn red eyeshadow into neutral eyeshadows or purple eyeshadows or blue eyeshadows for me. Like, I feel like I've had such a terrible habit of over purchasing particular eyeshadow colors that I like, and the saturation becomes too much, and suddenly I'm like, why do I have 60,000 of this same color that I am now over? So I'm keeping my red eyeshadow collection very small. I do have the main squeeze palette from Colourpop, which I filmed a video for it this weekend. It's either up or it's going up soon, and I love that palette. I actually really love it. I don't think it is truly a all red palette, but I really like it. I think the formula is good, and I'm gonna be totally okay if I don't bring any more red palettes into my collection. I'm not saying that I won't, but if I don't, that's okay. I don't want to oversaturate myself with reds because I'm scared that I will stop enjoying red eyeshadows. And it's been a favorite of mine for many, many, many years, and I don't want to fuck that up for myself. As for favorite formula of eyeshadows, Bare Minerals still holds the prime position. They are my favorite. They're pressed eyeshadow formula. I've also discovered that I really love Coloured Raine eyeshadows. I quite enjoy many of Suva Beauty's eyeshadows, and there are a lot of other brands that I really love. But yeah, I think if I had to choose one, Bare Minerals. Okay, people asking about this room, my beauty room. I love it. It's great. It's fabulous. I feel like I can breathe in here. Rebecca asked if I'm sleeping better. Yeah, I actually am. It's really nice. It's good. This space is, look, over on this side, I still have a lot of things that are just like general storage, and I haven't sorted it out. I did finally find a rug for this room. I had some people asking if I would do like an updated vlog. I will do that. I just haven't gotten around to do it. The only thing I'm really looking for at the moment is still a cloche for my big brush holder, and Rebecca did actually send me a link, and I tried to follow it up, but I need to have it shipped internationally, and I can't do it directly off the website. I had to like contact the website owner, and they haven't got back to me. I've sent them 2 emails, but look, that's all right. If that doesn't ever pan out, I will eventually find a cloche that is right for that. But otherwise, I'm really happy. Like, everything's going great out here. It's my little happy place. I'm happy. I'm gonna finish these eyes, so I'm gonna go back into the Queen of Hearts palette, and I'm gonna take Empress again, orange. I'm just gonna take this a little bit along my lower lash line. That's too much. This is gonna be a mess. I had some like general sort of personal questions. Naz asks, do you have any phobias? Actually, this also relates to some other questions that I had about spiders. Let's talk about spiders. Sorry if this is gonna freak you out. So there were some questions about, like, you know, you see photos on the internet of spiders that are as big as dinner plates in Australia. Are they real? And also someone asked me about venomous spiders. So I've never in my whole life seen a spider that is the size of a dinner plate. The only place I've ever seen that is, like you, on the internet. Are the photos real? I don't know. I can't tell you. I've never seen them. I have no doubt that there are very, very large spiders in Australia. The largest I have ever seen is with leg span, keeping in mind this is not the body, this is with leg span, like a teacup saucer, so about that big, maybe, yeah, about that big. And that was a huntsman spider, and I saw that in country Victoria, so not in the city. We get huntsmans in the city. You don't see them often. They will usually come into a place that is lit up at night. So if you leave a back door open or a window open at night, and they can get in under the door or get in through the window or whatever, they'll come in. Maybe, it depends. It has to be within vicinity, and it has to want to go to the light. But it's not common. You don't see them all that often. Venomous spiders, again, it's one of those things. You don't see them that often. We have them, but they're not. It's not the zombie apocalypse of spiders here. They're not running around like brains. No, it's not the case. We do have some redbacks here, but it's due mostly to like the layouts of the gardens and stuff like that. There's lots of really nice, like, warm, damp spaces for them to get into and breed in. And when we do find like a redback nest or something like that, we just deal with them. We kill them because there are a lot of children living on the property here, so we want to, you know, keep them safe. My brother was bitten by a redback spider when he was little, so we've seen firsthand, well, I haven't, I wasn't alive at this time. My mum has seen firsthand the damage that that can do, so, you know, we're careful about that stuff. But they're not, like I said, it's not the zombie apocalypse of spiders. They're not actively coming for us. I do have one story about a large spider that I think is probably one of my funniest ones, most traumatic and funniest. I'm just going to dig back into Juvia's place. I'm going to take this shade again, Ada, and I'm going to put that on my lower lash line as well. So when I was little, my dad, he was a builder. He would build houses, and we were in country Victoria with my uncle. They were working on one of his houses, and in the evening we would have barbecues outside, and the adults would drink beers and they leave their beer bottles outside on the ground. And I come out one morning and I see a VB stubby bottle, and if you're not familiar with what a VB stubby bottle is, it's a bottle about this big, and it's quite wide, probably the width of this, so that's the body of the bottle. Then it has a really stubby neck. That's why we call it a stubby, because it's got a short neck with a small opening, probably, yeah, about that big. Anyway, I see one of these on the ground. It's a brown glass, dark brown. You can see through it somewhat, and at that particular time the sun was sort of, you know, hitting it, and I could see that the bottle was empty, but there was something in it, and it wasn't a fluid. Now, I was very little, probably 4 or 5, and in my little head I was like, there's something in the beer bottle, and it's not a fluid, like it's not, you know, it's something else. And I walk over to this beer bottle and I pick it up, and I had it so that the bottom of the bottle was facing my face and the opening was away from me, and whatever was in there moved, and it scared me, gave me a fright. I didn't know what it was. And I threw it down on the ground, and I'm just looking at it kind of like, this is weird. And this spider sort of like pushed its way out of the bottle opening, and it was a huntsman, and the body of it, in my head I was like, it's 3 or 4 times the size of the bottle. It wasn't. Its body could fit through the neck or the opening of the bottle, but the way it came out was absolutely frightening. It was like 4 legs first, and then like body, and then more legs out the back, and it was the most horrific thing that I've ever seen. And I was afraid of spiders as a little girl. I still am now, but that was disgusting. That was literally like, if there is a hell, that is one of the circles of hell. Just large spiders coming out of small beer bottles. It's ugh. I've also had situations where I've been like stuck in the house on my own with no one to help me when there's a spider in the house, like a huntsman. So I'm like, I'll be very smart and suck it up a vacuum. Vacuum cleaner will not kill a huntsman spider. They will just slowly find their fucking way out and crawl out of the, like, the sucky bit. So yeah, yeah, we have big spiders, but I think Australians on the internet really love to play up that there are like all these dangerous things in Australia. And yeah, we do have like dangerous wildlife and dangerous insects and dangerous animals, but that's like any place in the world. And they're not generally running around the city. Unless you're gonna go and stay in outback Australia, I wouldn't be too concerned. If you're coming to Melbourne or Sydney or Perth or Brisbane or I don't know, Gold Coast, like wherever. If you're in a city, you're not likely to run into anything more than like a seagull or a daddy long legs. Megan asked a very deep question. Hardest thing you've ever gone through. Okay, let's get some brows happening while I talk about this. I think there's a few things that come to mind. Some things that I don't particularly want to share, but there's others that I would be comfortable sharing. I think some of the deaths that I've experienced in my life have been a little bit difficult. My dad's death was a bit of a tough one, and I think that was like, we knew he was sick. We knew he was sick for a long time. But I think what was hard about Dad's death is when it happened in a little bit of a shocking way, and it happened quickly. I don't think it was how we expected it to sort of go down. And also it was difficult because my dad was in intensive care for quite a while, and they were trying to help him, but they couldn't. His body wasn't doing what they needed it to do for him to get better, basically. So that was difficult and frustrating. I think frustrating. But I think the really hard part about my dad's death was the fact that I knew he didn't want to die. He wasn't ready. He was only, I think he was 57. It was just, he died a few days before his 58th birthday. So that was difficult because, like, I compare his death to my grandmother's death last year, and she was ready to go. When we were in the hospital, she basically just said, I just want to die, I'm ready to die. And my grandmother was 97, she was, or 98, something like that. So she had lived a very long life, very interesting life. She was in the WAF, she had traveled the world, like, she'd done so much, and she was ready to go. She was ready to, you know, she was done. Her body had given up, and she was okay with that. So that's a sort of death where it's difficult because you're saying goodbye to someone that you love, but it's a bit easier to accept. But watching my dad, that was hard because I knew there was still so much that he wanted to do, and it was not just heartbreaking to say goodbye to him, but also like almost feeling guilty that you can't do anything to help him, and knowing that he still wanted to do things and he wasn't ready to go. So that was really difficult. There was another death that I dealt with that I don't think I've spoken about this on my channel, and not really spoken about it for, you know, particular reasons. It's very upsetting. And this actually has to do with the death of an infant. So if that's going to be really upsetting for you, I'll put a timestamp somewhere, like a big one. So you can skip to that because I don't want to upset anyone with this story. It could be very triggering for some people. But if we're going to talk about the hard things, I'm going to talk about the hard things. So my sister, she had a child die during childbirth, and that was very difficult. I think, I mean, for obvious reasons, you know, you see the baby and you see the potential that has just gone up in smoke. You know, you think about the fun times that you could have had with the child. Who would, like, you know, would they grow up and be something special, or, you know, who are they going to look like, and what's their laugh going to sound like, and stuff like that. So that's a very difficult thing to sort of cope with, and I think your mind does. I think your mind is your biggest enemy during times like that, because you do think about what's been lost, like what could have been, and there's nothing that you can do about it, and that can be really upsetting. But also seeing my sister in pain and not, like, you can't do anything, and it's just, you're dealing with your own grief because you automatically feel a connection with a child because they are part of your family, but then also watching someone that you love deal with that grief on a much bigger scale than I could ever possibly imagine, that is really, like, that's really hard. I can still hear my sister crying, and that was, yeah, that's probably like one of the scars that will stick with me forever. Yeah, that was pretty tough. I think deaths are probably the hardest thing that I've been through. Everything else that I think about, I think, like, you know, all right, that was hard when I was dealing with it, you know, like being bullied at school, and sometimes things that people might do to you in life, they can be really difficult, but also I look at them in a different sense where it's like, I learned something from that, and it turned me into the person that I am today. And although if I could go back and change it, I might choose not to go through that. I'm also okay with that being a part of my past. Like, I can cope with that. I learned something. I'm not worse off for it. I feel like I'm a better and stronger person. So, you know, there's difficult things like that you might go through. But I think with deaths, when it's when it comes with a big dose of like what ifs or like regret, stuff like that, that's hard, because you have to continue on with that throughout the rest of your life, and that's probably the most difficult thing for me. And that's also coming from someone who, like, I believe in an afterlife. I don't know what it is. I'm not necessarily, you know, I don't necessarily believe in heaven and hell, but I do believe in an afterlife. I believe that we see people after. So for me, death is not the end. I'm not someone who believes that when you die there's nothing after it, but it's still something that you, or I, have to, like, I carry it with me. I still remember those painful moments. Okay, let's talk about something happy, because that was not, but there you go. Now you guys know my most difficult moments in life. Bryn asks, what's your favorite dessert? That's a nice light one. Okay, I have a really crazy thing for salted caramel. I also have a weird thing for ice cream in winter. I don't really eat ice cream in summer. I don't care for it. I feel like it's too heavy. But in winter, all I want when it comes to desserts is ice cream. I don't know what that's about. QS also asked, what's your favorite food? I love tacos. I love tacos. I'm a crazy person for tacos. I also really enjoy most Italian food, and I still dream about tapas in Spain. I have very fond memories of just living off tapas in Spain. Tapas and alcohol. Good times. Erin asked some more food related questions. How do you take your coffee? That's actually a very, very complicated question. If I'm at home or at a friend's house and they are making me a mug of coffee, I typically like it white with 2. If it's like an instant coffee, which I don't mind, I'm not here to judge. I don't expect you to be a fucking barista in your own home. White with 2, that's how I like it. If I am buying like a large coffee at a cafe while I'm out, I typically go like white with 3 or 4 sugars. If I find a barista who actually knows how to make a coffee without burning it and making it bitter, I have it white without any sugar. I knew a place up in Camberwell and they've changed hands a couple of years ago, so I no longer go there, but I stumbled across them one day and the coffee was superb. I went in there and I ordered a standard, just a small with 2 sugars, and the barista said to me, can I make it with no sugar first, and if you don't like it then I'll put the sugar in? And I was like, okay, yep, that's fine, because I know some baristas get offended when you ask for sugar. So he made me the coffee and I tried it, and oh my god, it was the best coffee I've ever had in my life. I'm not exaggerating. It was so creamy and delicious. It was perfect. Not even a hint of bitterness. And I said to him, all right, I get it, okay? You know what you're doing. Not all baristas do. Because they don't. Sorry, but they don't. Coffee shops in Melbourne, dime a fucking dozen. And a lot of them have people manning the coffee machine who only know how to function the coffee machine, not how to actually brew a good cup of coffee based on the beans that they are using. So there's that. But I actually went back to that coffee shop for years. I would even go out of my way to go there and get a coffee when I was craving this good coffee. And then they switched hands. They sold the coffee shop and their new barista was not the old barista, so I never went back. Favorite pizza topping: pepperoni, cheese, mushrooms. I love olives. Yes, I will have pineapple on a pizza if it's appropriate with the other toppings. I do love fresh seafood on a pizza, but if I'm going like a standard pizza, it's usually pepperoni and cheese. Also, if you are a venue that makes a mushroom pizza and you put truffle on your pizza, you own my heart forever. Favorite burger toppings: I like, you know, the standard meat patty. I like lettuce, raw onion. I don't like cooked onion very much. Tomato, I like mayonnaise and tomato sauce or ketchup, depending on where you're from. I do not like pineapple on a burger. I'll have egg, bacon, all that other stuff. I'll even, look, I don't really like beetroot, but if it's on there, I won't complain. But if you put pineapple on my burger, we're actually gonna have a fight, because I can't deal with that. Nikki asked about the necklace. She said, you once told the story of the red necklace, but I've never been able to find it. Could you retell it? Or give me a hint on where it is. I wouldn't have a fucking clue where it is, but the red necklace. Also, someone asked about how Kat and I met. Kat and I met at a bloggers event. We became friends. The rest is history to where we are today. The red necklace. Okay, so I actually acquired my little heart pendant, this dude. Actually, let's keep doing makeup. I'm gonna put on mascara, I'm gonna spritz my face. So I acquired the pendant the Christmas after my father passed away. All of my family come together to have a Christmas at my dad's local pub, and we had Christmas crackers. My youngest cousin popped a cracker with me and one of these fell out. And there was another cracker that had one in it. Anyway, she was sort of smitten with them, so I gave her the one that came out of our cracker. And a couple of hours later, after, you know, we finished lunch, we're drinking away, we're getting very, very, very merry, she comes up and she gives me the little heart, and I was like, oh, thank you, that's so cute. And I was just sort of drinking and talking and all that stuff, and I took it was actually a key ring, I took the key ring off and slipped it on my necklace, and it's stayed there ever since. I've had a few people you know, see me wearing this on Beauty News on my own channel and then meet me in public and they're like, oh, I thought it was a really fancy thing. No, it's not. It is plastic that's covered in like a red translucent coating, and over the years the coating is actually slowly wearing away, so it's just plastic. Mishi asks, what's my go-to at McDonald's? Oh my god, are you ready for this? I reckon this is something that this can cause riots. This question can cause riots amongst McDonald's lovers. Oh, my mirror is covered in shit. Okay, brace yourselves. My favorite from the standard menu, fillet of fish. From the breakfast menu, hash browns, and I either order a sausage and egg McMuffin with bacon or a bacon and egg McMuffin with sausage. And I do not understand why they do not have a bacon, sausage and egg McMuffin with cheese on the standard breakfast menu. I've seen some burgers that contain all of those things, but then they also put on like a fucking barbecue sauce or something. I'm like, it doesn't need it. Stop it. So yeah, I just don't understand why the main breakfast menu doesn't have just a standard bacon, sausage and egg McMuffin in Australia. This actually offends me. Sabrina asks, are you really a hockey fan? I want to know. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I hope that doesn't upset you too much. She also asks if parakeets fly free where I live. And yes, we do. We've got lorikeets here, which is of the parakeet family. They are so noisy. So fucking noisy. And then once a year, we also have a flock of cockatoos that show up. Don't know why. Oh, well, I do. I know why. They come for nuts off a specific tree, and we have a lot of them around here. They are super destructive. If you park your car under trees that they eat from, you'll come out in the morning and your car will be covered in shit. And by shit, I mean bird shit and like the remnants of the tree that they have destroyed. So yeah. Speaking of birds, let's talk about pets. So people have been asking about my pets, the cats and the birds. Lashes. No, actually, I'm not even going to bother putting on lashes. Who cares? Let me find a lip. A lip. Let's bring out Nars. Good old Camden girls. I think a nude lip will go well with this. The original look, I wore a coloured Raine liquid lipstick. Let me see if I can find the shade. Okay, so the shade that I wore in the original video was this one. It's called Boss Babe. And it looks like a mauvey purple in the tube, but it actually goes on quite dark, which made this look very vampy. So you can see there, like, yeah, she looks, I feel like, and I suppose it doesn't, but I feel like it looks darker on the skin than it does in the tube. But anyway, I'm gonna go with Nars Camden girls. So pets, Odin, he's good, he's very cheeky. Little girl, she's good, she's also very cheeky. She does not like Odin. Odin loves her, but she hates him, absolutely hates him, and doesn't even like put up with him. Odin's funny. When she's in the house, he will follow her around going brr, brr, like constantly, and she will just slowly sort of run away from him, hissing and growling. It's extremely funny to watch. What's strange about it though is you would think that a cat who's hissing and growling and running away from another cat would try to get outside to get away from him. She doesn't. She just runs around the house. I almost feel like she does it on purpose, like it's a game. So yeah, it's pretty funny to watch. The birds are doing really well. People have been saying that they miss hearing like the birds in the videos. If you listen carefully, you might still be able to hear them in some videos, because I know when they're going off inside and I'm filming out here, it still picks up on camera. So, you know, there's that. They drive me insane. They drive me bloody insane. Erin also asked, how does Odin react to the birds? Do they freak out around him? Do you allow them any interaction? So Odin and Burb are like this. They are the best of friends. Absolutely love each other. Sometimes in the evening I'll put Burb in his cage because he's allowed to be free range in the house during the day, and I'll go into the kitchen and Odin will be sitting on top of his cage trying to play with him, and he'll have a sad look on his face when I go in there. He's like, let him out, let me play with him. Like, it's fucking bedtime. It's 8 o'clock at night. He should have been asleep hours ago. So yeah, he absolutely, they love each other. They do rough house play quite often, the both of them together. It's not like Odin being rough with Burb. They both will go at it. And you can tell it's play because birds, when they're like, if they've got fear or they feel like they're in danger, they will make certain noises, and Burb's noises when they're playing are always like they're like these little like trilling noises, sort of like what a cat does when they're like, you know, playing or happy. They'll make like little trilling noises. Birds do it too, lorikeets do it, and that's what they do. They just play and fight and trill. We also have two other rainbow lorikeets, and they're not as friendly as Burb. Burb is a very like person-oriented bird, whereas the other birds have bonded, so they're more about each other. They're in love. They're, you know, happy together. And Odin loves them as well. They love Odin. Yeah, I think the funny thing about cats, and little girl, she loves all the birds as well. She doesn't particularly like the two birds that have bonded. Like she doesn't do anything aggressive towards them, but she won't actively go up to them and like sniff them or play with them or anything like that, because they have a tendency to be territorial over each other and they will bite her, and she doesn't like it. It hurts her. But little girl with Burb, fine. They get along fine. She likes him, he likes her. Sometimes he will chase her around and, you know, she'll do the run thing, and then she'll chase after him, and then like it's very cute. All right, so I'm done, and this video is long enough. So I would actually recommend with this look lashes, false lashes, because it is vibrant, it's really bright. I put on the Stila Huge Extreme Lash Mascara. It's not huge or extreme enough for a look like this. I feel like this sort of look, it needs at least lashes. You could totally put on a wing as well, but I don't want to put on lashes. It's nearly 5 o'clock. I want to go make dinner. I want to make dinner and have a shower and get ready for bed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this little Q&A. I think that's all. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much to everyone who asked questions. I'm sorry if I didn't get to touch on the question that you asked, but hopefully I covered most things. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.